Hello, I'm the Genshin scientist. Today, I'll talk about a character who's getting a rerun very soon, Yae Miko. Miko is a character who has gone through a lot of criticism during her initial release, for various reasons. Relatively clunky playstyle due to how her elemental skill activation works, high energy requirements that really restricted her team choices, and a questionable elemental mastery scaling passive which made little sense at the time. In this video I will analyze how the introduction of the quicken elemental reactions, and Dendro supports in general made things better for Miko. To begin with, how does Miko benefit from the new reaction? Let's think of a standard composition that would include her, Fischl, any Dendro unit, and a flex slot unit. This kind of composition is generally called quick swap, as it doesn't have a carry that requires consistently high field time to operate. The rotation length on this team is of 25 seconds, due to Fischl's long elemental skill cooldown. Let's assume the flex slot is an Anemo support, like Kazu-Ha. The rotation generally plays out like this. You start with Miko's triple elemental skill, you swirl the electro element with Kazu-Ha, you set up your Dendro application to activate quicken, and then you place Oz through Fischl. At that point, you use Miko's elemental burst, reactivate her totems through her skill, and swirl the electro element again to keep the resistance shred effect up. The multitude of these actions will require roughly 12 seconds, but as I said the rotation has to be 25 seconds long due to Fischl's cooldown, so you have to fill that window in some way. The best way for you to fill that window on this team is by spamming Miko's normal attacks, while swirling electro again and reactivating Oz through Fischl's burst in between. This is true for several reasons. First of all, by activating Aggravate through her normals, Miko generates Fischl's Ascension 4 passive hits, which are strong in terms of damage on Dendro teams. The Ascension 4 passive specifically requires an electro reaction to be activated, so you can't activate it with spread for example. Second, her normal attacks are actually not bad if you include Aggravate's damage increase. This is all just to say that in a traditional rotation on one of her best Dendro teams, Yae takes advantage of the Aggravate elemental reaction in every way possible, averaging roughly 16 Aggravate hits per rotation on a single target. But wait, it gets even better once you assume there is more than one target around you. In fact, Yae's elemental skill hits generate electro app on a specific target just once every 3 hits, or every 2.5 seconds, due to how the internal cooldown rule works. This means that against a single target they will be restricted by those limitations to generate Aggravate. However, the situation changes in multi-target situations, since Miko's elemental skill has a random targeting system, so in AoE situations it's highly unlikely for them to all target the same opponent every time. Since the internal cooldown rule, I mentioned before is independent for each opponent, facing 3 opponents or more increases Yae's Aggravate hits by a significant amount, realistically allowing her to cumulatively generate more than 20 per rotation. There might be some variations to the previously explained rotation depending on the Dendro unit you use. For example, if you use Tignari, he will require more field time compared to other Dendro units, so that leaves less of a window for Yae to spam normal attacks, but as a whole even that version functions really well since Tignari's higher personal damage compared to other Dendro units functions as a fitting trade-off. Overall, Miko's Aggravate team variants put up extremely competitive numbers, and she's definitely the best electro option to pair with Fischl. The team's overall damage per rotation has nothing to envy even compared to single-target Leviathans such as Hu Tao teams, which is a huge achievement for Yae if you think about where she was 6 months ago. This team even alleviates Miko's energy requirements, as her spending 10 or 11 seconds in total on field throughout the rotation means she'll pick up a lot more direct electro particles than she usually does. With team's flexibility and energy-related issues fixed, the only real flaw remaining for Yae is her clunky elemental skill activation process, which might definitely feel annoying even on this type of team considering you have to do it twice per rotation. This is something that will stick with her, a concept flaw like many other units have, but all things considered, at the current point in time Yae stands in a very high place in the meta right now, as a centerpiece of one of the best teams in the game.